my reach. Read it again. It says we all want to succeed in life. Some of us even to the point of obsession. But the road to success is not always easy. It is fraught with roadblocks, challenges, and sometimes failure. But that does not mean success is not attainable. It's very much within reach if you have faith and know within yourself that you can. So, when I thought of the topic, thank you, I was pondering, I asked for assistance in researching the topic as well. And I was also pondering, how do I put what I know in a package and present it? Because if you know something, follow me. If you know something, it's as if it's a given. You have done this. Nobody, not necessarily told you, or you heard, or you read it somewhere. You know. I have a cousin who told me some time ago he was at school on a farm, and there was a Rasta man on the farm. And a conversation started up, and he said, "Dread, you believe in God?" The Rasta man said, "No, I don't believe in God." And they were talking again, and then my cousin, who is a Christian, ask again, "Why don't you believe in God? Are you an atheist?" He said, "No, I am not an atheist. I just don't believe in God." So he was getting upset because, how can somebody not believe in God? That was his first thought. And then he said, the Rastaman responded and said, "Young youth, I do not believe there's a God. I know there's a God." And he explained to say, if I say I believe, it would have meant that I was influenced. Somebody probably told me. But I feel him. He is with me. I know he exists. So, if you have faith and you know within yourself that you can, you are already on your way. So, I have decided that I will talk about my experiences. I will share them so that someone else who was probably where I was can know, even just one person, that it is possible. Opportunities exist, and there's a way how to seize them. So when I thought about my experiences, and I wanted to come up with, how can I make it short? I'm going to be short. I'm not going to take up all your time today. How can I make it short, but make it enough for, the young at heart, people just starting out, people caught between two opinions, people who really know they should but is crippled with fear? What are the things I can talk about to have them understand that yes, it is possible, and yes, fear is not of God, and we should not be harboring it? I came up with the ideas that came to me. The next thing was execution. I toggled with my background and the inept culture I was born in. The struggles, the focus, and this one that says, fake it. You can see it? That's a question sign beside it. There is also, as I progressed in my business life, other topics would have come to mind. Accountability is a big one of them. And then I have success again with a question mark. So if we're going to seize our opportunities, usually the first thing that will come to us, if you are thinking of starting a business or going out on your own or just making a change, you just want to make a difference, is the ideas. What do we do with the ideas? What do you do with your ideas? And what is stopping you from acting on them? One of the reasons might be you did not write it down. So we must write it down. You see, I had an idea to start a business for a number of years. Like a lot of years. However, I was employed and thought I was in a good job. Let me not say thought I was in a good. I was in a good job by good job standards. And, you know, the 80% health benefit and enough to get back to work on a Monday, that good stuff. But I keep getting ideas. People keep telling me that, hey, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. I keep getting prophecies that, you know, you should do something. Now, I didn't write them down, so I'll forget. I didn't write them down, so I don't remember the details. I remember what it is, but I don't remember the details. So that's one. You must write it down whenever it comes to you. The next one that came to mind when I think about the ideas I had was you must make time for them. You must make time for them. And it's a given. That needs no explanation. You have to make time for your ideas. A lot of the things that you do just to pass the time, you would have to be substituting that time with your ideas. The next one is you have to nurture them. If you have an idea and you want that idea to materialize, to develop, to make a difference, then you have to nurture them. You see, mothers inside here and on the internet will tell you, when you have a baby, you don't decide when you get up. You don't decide when you go to sleep. There's a lot of things that you would have to give up because you're nurturing. And that is exactly what you would have to do on this journey if you so decide to seize these opportunities. You would have to look at what time you go to bed. Because you need to spend time. You need to nurture these ideas. You need to seize the moment. You need to arm yourself with whatever knowledge that you are going to need to carry it out. You have to believe in yourself. The next slide says, dreams and self-belief are free. You can take all you want and walk away. So, if you have an idea that it's just nudging at you. When I decided to start I must tell you that I've started several businesses. And the ones that I'm doing now were not the first one I started. And I've started other businesses since the ones I'm doing now as well. But my other slides will speak to that. So, the next thing that came to mind as I spoke about was execution. You see, we can know all we know and know everything about a particular subject or idea. But if you're not able to execute it, it basically means nothing. You can be the best surgeon, the most skilled, and you're not able to execute a business plan. It doesn't really matter what you know. I have a colleague who has a dental practice. And I would go there every time it's time to get clean and all that stuff. He's a good friend of mine. I would go in, I would sit in the queue like everyone else. I would give my name at the desk, and I would wait until my time to go in, right? So when I do this, the person at the front desk do not know who I am or do not know the relationship I have with this person. But then sometimes I realize that her skills in customer service, her ability to make you feel comfortable when you come in, her willingness to make eye contact and listen to what to the questions that you are having are not necessarily at the level that you would want them to be. And he's a good friend of mine. And one day, close to the time I was supposed to go back, another dental practice called me with a promotion and said, "Oh, I realized you were here in 1990, whenever, and we're just doing a promotion." And the lady was so welcoming, and I could tell her voice was smiling, and I feel like these people are going to take care of me. And that practice was owned by a friend of mine, and I left. He's skilled. He's very good at what he does, but he's not paying attention to business. And the person at the front desk drove his friend away. Now, if she was able to drive his friend away, can you imagine what is happening to him now? So execution is very, very, very important. And if you're going to be executing your plan or your ideas, you have to be very clear about your objectives. You see, when I just started out, what I wanted or what I thought I wanted was a business or a company. As I go along, I realize that these things comes with a lot of headache. This is not what I wanted. I have to be dealing with people. Did you hear me say people? No, I think every single one of my staff is online, and it's like leading cats. However, I have aligned myself with very bright and skilled and knowledgeable people, and that is why I was able to, or we are able to, weather the storms and be able to give the numbers that we give on a yearly basis. In your execution, you have to make sure that you're dreaming big. You see, if you dream big and you don't hit it instantly, you might hit medium because you miss. And you might hit small because you missed. Guess what happens if you dream small and you missed? You hit nothing. So dream big. It cannot be too big. It has to scare you. And so when I said to myself years ago that for whatever reason, I want to start a loan company. Now, a loan company sells money. And I wanted to start a company because I had no money. I give you another joke. I toyed with it for about 2 years. I just didn't know how to start. I was not aligned with anybody doing this. I was not in any company of anybody who is doing this. My background and my name surely didn't speak to it. But I was dreaming big. And I dare you to dream big today. You also, in executing, must focus on the positives. You must focus on the positive. You see, when you decide to start a business or a company or an organization or to take your hobby to another level or something that you just really love to do, there's a lot of negatives that's going to come your way. People who you thought would have helped might not. People who you wished would see your dream might not. People who you thought understood what you just explained might not. And you really have to focus on the positives because it's going to happen. In executing, you must understand that you cannot do it alone. And some people might say, but you can, because you can't tell everybody your business. But remember, I'm talking about my experience. I could not do it alone, and I really believe within myself that you cannot do it alone. There are some things that God will have to put people in place to help you with, especially with my limited level of education. I started my company with a high school education. And as it grew, I had to grow. Because now I am meeting with CEOs and I have to be in boardrooms and they're speaking language that and I have to travel to different countries to meet investors and I have to do all sort of craziness, and my high school education was enough, and my upbringing and how my family struggled was enough to get started. But you must invest in yourself when you are seizing these opportunities. The next slide is the struggles. And this one could go on all day. Oh yes, this one could go on all day. But I can smile about it today. And the struggles that you feel today and the ones that, just keep coming up, I can tell you, if you push through and if you persevere and if you continue, they will be no more. You see, I wanted to start a company to sell money to people. And one day I was at my job, and when you work somewhere for a number of years, this is what happened to me. I worked there for 18 years, but I had a high school education. So when I just got in as a hard trainee, I learned. And over the years, I catch on quickly and I learned and I became, the employee of the year, and then I became the supervisor, and then I became the manager. But I only had the title because of my experiences and because of my knowledge on the job. I was not being paid nowhere near a manager's salary because my last school was a high school. And these jobs belong to people who went to college. And when accounts call you, they talk to you like they know that you did not go to college. And even though they gave you the title, they say, oh, you're a manager. When other managers call you, they talk to you like they know, because they know what you're being paid. And you're just being paid enough to come back to work. So that's one of the struggles I had to go through. But I'm here to tell you today that, let me make sure I don't have that somewhere else and say it to you. Yes, so when I just started my company, the first meeting we had was in KFC. It was the first staff meeting. It was between myself and one other person. Well, which one? But I'm just trying to point out to you and the viewers that it doesn't matter where you are right now. You understand? It does not matter where you are. I started with a desk, a bucket, and a fan. I think the fan came probably 3 days later, but we couldn't buy a chair, but I had an idea. And I found someone who was willing to work it with me. You understand? Today we have 3 branches on the island. And 20-something employees, to include contractors. When I started, I went to 8 different financial institutions. 8 in close proximity to where I was, and 1 in Kingston, to make 9. All of them turned me down. Every single one of them turned me down. And the last one that turned me down, it was at the point where this is not for me. Why am I trying to get out of a good job? In all fairness, the healthcare that give me 180% benefit. You know, why am I doing this? Why should this be so hard? And as I walked through the bank of the door, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I was not crying. But my shirt I had on was wet with tears, because it was just flowing and flowing and flowing, and I was wondering, I'm not crying. But you see, and this is what I tell my employees, you will not be able to help everyone, but they ought not leave feeling bitter. They ought not leave feeling that you could and you didn't, or you didn't even listen. I went with my little folder to the last one. Yes, I had a meeting set up and all that, and the manager said, come. When I went and he saw me, I think that was a turn off, because he realized I had a little folder, you know, that little file jacket thing with my papers in there, and I could tell he wasn't even listening. When I walk in the door and he realized that this is not a loan company type person or a loan company looking person, he did not even listen to me. The gentleman kept tugging away at his keyboard. He kept answering his phone. I was not important at that point. And I think that's what broke me, because I've been declined 8 times already. So I am more experienced. I know how to talk to a bank manager by now. But the gentleman did not even give me the time of day. And I think the only thing he asked me was, what's your last name again? He was not even interested in my first name. So I'm telling you, it's a true story. I went home and then I cried. Yes. Because I cried because I was confused. I wasn't outside. I was in a rented premises. I wasn't hungry. I had a job. My kids were in school, even though it was not the best or what I wanted. But I was getting by. So why is this happening to me? Why am I pushing so hard and getting rejected? And I remember I went to church the Sunday. I think this was a Friday. I went to church the Sunday after that. And I remember sitting in there, hardly hearing what was being said. But when the woman of God said, just cry out. Just cry out like Nehemiah did and said, Lord, remember me for good. Now, I didn't understand what Reverend Lorraine McDermott was talking about. But I went home and I read it. And I realized that Nehemiah was feeling like he was down and out. And he cried out to God. It's as if he was saying, if you can't do anything for me for anything else, remember I was good to these people. And I searched and I looked and I realized that this can be my cry. And I can tell you that if you see opportunities, if you have an idea, you have to set yourself in a place that God can be pleased with you, so that when you reach your breaking point, when you feel like you can't get any further, you can say, Lord, remember me for good. Because I've always been crying out to God. Well, in my own way. That was not any... that last time when I asked him to remember me for good, that was crying out. But I thought I was praying. And I thought I was earnestly and diligently pushing. And I thought, why is this not happening? You know why it wasn't happening? I learned now. I wanted a company because I wanted money. I wanted to look good. I wanted to feel good. I wanted status. I wanted to be, yes, I'm telling you. I wanted it. I wanted a company so that somebody can say he has a company. And people keep turning me down and things keep happening. And when I went to register the company, the day, I didn't even start. I think I started 3 months after that. But it was just time. I was at work and I asked for some time and I left. I went to the place that you register companies and I registered it. It cost, I think, $2,500 and I was short $50. And I searched and I couldn't find the $50. And the lady said to me, you sure it's a loan company? She said it. She said it and she was right. Think about it. You come in and you sit down and you registering a loan company and you're short $50 and you can't find it. And I said, yes, but I just don't have it. And she smiled and she paid it for me. And I registered the company, gave it a name and went home. So what I'm trying to say to you today is, when the struggles come, because they will, when people fail you, because they're gonna, when you don't think you can go on any further, you must make sure that you're in a place where you can cry out to God and say, Lord, remember me for good. How do we do this? You have to help as much people as you can help with whatever you got. You have to grow where you're planted. Some people think, well, I'm trying to do all I can do for myself and my family. No, I really can't help anyone. That's not true. Some people have no shoes, some people have no feet. And then the next one says, let go and let God. And that's what I did. I cried out, I let go and let God. A wise person once told me, a very good friend of mine, whom I actually know, that if you get yourself to a place where God can trust you with money, He'll give it to you. He also said to me, the Lord needs us to be successful. He doesn't just want you or wish for you or would like for you. He needs you to be successful. Because you don't see Him stretching down His hands and feeding the poor. You don't see Him stretching down His hands and taking care of this. So He needs you to be successful so you can help to tend to His people. Next slide. One of the things that happened to me as well was my focus. And if you have opportunities around you, if you have ideas that you need to execute, and you don't know how to execute them or how to go about execute them, and you remember you cannot do it alone, and you have to find at least 2 or 3 role models whom you can talk to, who you can bounce ideas off, then now you need to know that you have to remain focused. And when things were getting a little better for me, and I was able to leave my job, I realized that you have to remain focused. You have to remain focused with a plan. You have to remain focused with a dream. You have to remain focused with an idea. Because there are distractions. And a lot of us have a lot of distractions that only we cannot see. Because you think they're so tiny, and it's just YouTube, and it's just all of them that exist, and it's just a small little habit. Nobody gets hurt. It's not a sin, but it's a distraction. You understand? It is a distraction. And so I had to really get help in remaining focused. I had to find people who are doing what I am doing. Find out how they did it, so I can remain focused. Because the bad habits will creep in. I had to, one other way to remain focused, especially if you're in your struggling period, is you have to try and do well at the small stuff. Let me say that again. I wanted to be the leader of an organization. And I thought about that every single day. When I wake up, that's what I wanted to do. But I wasn't spreading the bed. And I was dropping my clothes all over the room. Yes. And I might pass trash in the yard. Because to me, those are the small stuff. Those are not what I want to do. Those that have nothing to do with leadership. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you want to be good at the big things, start with trying to be good at the small things. In remaining focused, I was doing 3 different businesses at one point. I was doing 3 different businesses. But I just did not have enough resources to spread out, to hire managers and to hire, enough people who have technical know-how to handle it. So I had to be juggling it with my high school education. So it will not be long without money to pump in business, without having people around you who knows what you want and what you're doing. It's going to be hard. And it's going to take away from the opportunities that might arise. Because one of them, well, in my case, I had to focus on which one looks like it's going to be better. Which one looks like it's aligned with what I want. Which one looks like it's going to take me to where I need to be. And that's when I decided to scale back on the others. Because there are hobbies that I really love to do. And manufacturing and all that. And making stuff for consummation and all that stuff. I really am passionate about. However, I could not focus on all 3 things at the same time. With especially the limited resources and no managers on board at the time. So it will burn you out. And whenever we get applications from persons who are seeking employment, I'm always a kind of weary when people says, I am very good at multitasking. It is good to be able to multitask, yes. But in a growing organization, and a very young one such as ours, we want people who can get the job done in a timely manner and in an efficient manner. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. I have ABC 1, 2, 3 right here. I need 2 volunteers to demonstrate something to you. Bring a phone and a pen. All right. Get the timer on the phone. No, hold on. Not you. You get the timer on the phone. All right. You're gonna write for me from 1 to 9. I'll tell you when. From 1 to 9, and then you're gonna write the first 9 letters of the alphabet underneath it. You can put it here if you want. You good? And then he's gonna time you. So I'm gonna tell you when to go. Tell me when you're ready. Ready? All right, go. You say stop when you're done, and you stop. All right, what's the time you have done? 10 seconds. All right, this is what you're going to do for me now. We're going to do the same thing, but you're going to write 1 first, then A, then 2 first, then B, then 3, then C. So you're going to write it. So you're going to write, no, we're multitasking. So you're going to write it now, and it's ABC. But you're going to write them one after the other in a straight line. Tell me when you're ready. Ready, go. "12 seconds. Because you fumbled on the first one. But ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to, thank you very much. I wanted to demonstrate to you that simple little task as ABC. What year you learned that? Probably 3? And counting to 9. Just to write it on a paper. She wrote the numbers, then she wrote the letters. And she got a lower time than if she was trying to do them both together. And I learned that when I realized that multitasking is good, but focusing is better. All right. The next slide I have up is fake it. I'm sure we all are familiar with the term that says fake it until you make it. So this is what I think about faking it. It works. Let me tell you why. You remember when they called my name not long ago, how I walked up? That's not how I walk. No, that's not how I walk. I learned that walk from a gentleman I admired. And he was doing the things that I wanted to do years ago. And I always admire his posture and how he stand and how he speak. And so I developed a certain walk because I wanted to be like him. So I'm telling you, I don't know how I walk. And I'm sure I probably should be walking with a limp. Because less than 4 years ago, I weighed 365 pounds. So you can fake it until you make it, because I have a signature walk now. You see, we have to become who we want to be. And just wishing and hoping is not a process. I wanted to be a businessman who seemed to be successful. And I saw that gentleman as a businessman who was successful. I'm going to walk like him. Also, in faking it until you make it, you can seek to align yourself with people who are as hungry and as passionate about an idea the way that you are. It helps because then you're able to emulate people who are successful or people who seem to be successful. I also learned later on that I had to fake my reactions to a lot of things in my new business life. And that has given me some amount of clout, especially with my employees. Because it's human tendency, when you get bad news, the first thing to do is outburst, or cry out, or lash out. So if I don't do that, I'm not faking it now, but I faked it. I had to, because it's human tendency. And I was new to what was happening to me. So I had to fake a lot of my reactions to things that were happening to me, things that people say, things that people do. And remember I told you about that good job I had? I had to fake my reaction to how I felt I was being treated unfairly. And today, I can tell you that I probably would not be doing what I'm doing if that did not happen to me. And doing it so effectively if that did not happen to me. And if I kept complaining that I'm not getting paid for this, a fool them I take me for. I saw them big company are going all the while. Them just always put in a certain position because you can do the job, but they don't pay you to do the job. And then people talk down to you, and people treat you a certain way, and you have a tendency to lash out. But I'm telling you today, fake your reaction. It is necessary what you're going through. And God have a plan for all of us, and He needs us to be successful. The next slide speaks about accountability. And this happened to me on my journey and happening to me right now. So sometimes you have an idea and it comes to you and you write it down and you spend some time with it in the evenings and you research the topic and you figure out who to talk to, and you're just doing it as you go along. But there's no form of accountability. And so I implore you today to find someone or some people whom you can trust to hold you accountable to ideas that you want to execute. Give them the date by when it must manifest. And always look to people who you know will call you out. Mm-hmm. You see, we shy away from those people, and those are the ones we say we don't like, and we can't take her, and we can't take him. Yes, because guess what? Some people don't have any chill. Some people will come up to you and say, "Lord, where I get big and fat go?" No man, lose some weight, man. They mean absolutely no harm, but they have no chill. And in their way, they are telling you that you need to do something. These are the people you have to find and tell them what you need to do, because they are going to call you out if you don't do it. I found out that you have to set goals. You must set goals. A goal is a desired result that a person plans and commits to achieve. Goal setting involves the development of an action plan designed to motivate and guide a person or group towards a goal. Why do we set goals? It gives you a long-term vision. It focuses your acquisition of knowledge. It helps you to organize your time and your resources. It allows you to measure your progress. The different types of goal, I have two. There are short-term goals and long-term goals. The short-term is something you want to accomplish soon. It can be today, this week, this month, or even a year. The long-term goal is a goal which takes a longer time to achieve. How do we seize opportunities by creating goals or creating SMART goals? The goal must be specific. You must know exactly what it is you want to do. And I think that if I wasn't hitting and missing and not setting goals the way I should, I would have been eons further on my journey. Because at first I thought I wanted a business or I wanted a company. But then I got a business and I got a company and I said, I want to live in the best looking house I've ever been in. And then I live in the best looking house I've ever been in, and then I stopped going into people's houses. And then I say, I want to drive the best car I've ever seen. And then I'm driving the best car I've ever seen. So I can't understand, why am I not settled and relaxed and, don't still feel like I'm struggling? It's because I was not specific in my goals. Now, you might not know what you're going to need 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, but you have to be specific with your goals because you will hit them and still feel lost. I thought I wanted a company. I thought I wanted a business. I have several companies. I started several businesses. And I realized what I wanted was a mission. I wanted a mission. I wanted to be able to give back. I wanted to be able to change people's lives. I wanted to be able to create jobs. I wanted to be able to see my staff children graduate from colleges. I wanted to be able to help in my community. I wanted to see my family thriving and healthy. And I realized that you have to be specific with your goals, because those are my goals now, and every time I hit one of them, I feel relieved, I feel happy, I feel like, yes, this is what I was born to do. Not when I built the house, not when I got the car, not when I started the businesses, and those were all I could have seen. So you have to be specific with your goals. And you have to make sure that you're on a mission. Your goals have to be measurable. It has to be measurable. It has to be something you can quantify. You have to be able to determine the size or when it's going to happen, or, put the different pieces together. It must be attainable. We can't have goals that we just dream up out of the air and say, hey, I'm going to move that mountain tomorrow. And then every day you just go there and look at the mountain. It must be attainable. It must be realistic. It cannot be that you want to do something, but it is impossible. It just does not align with the laws of physics. It must be attainable. It must be realistic. And it also must be timely. Because you have to have benchmarks, you have to have waymarks, you have to have different times that you look back, you look ahead, and you look where you are to determine if this goal is still necessary, if this goal is going anywhere, and if this goal is in line with your mission. In creating specific goals, you must answer the 6 W questions. Who is involved? What do I want to accomplish? You must identify the where, establish the when, identify requirements and constraints of the which, and also the why. My why when I started, ladies and gentlemen, was very strong. I had to. Because I saw my mother work tirelessly, day and night, without a father at home to care for all of us. Going without so we could have the ability to at least acquire. My why was very powerful because I had to change her life. And that's what I do when I started. My very first measurable goal was to build my mother a house. And I did it before I could afford it. I did it when I was still renting, because I just had to, and it was, and that's why I think businesses that we get ourselves into will succeed, and they will climb, and they will grow, because your why is so strong. We must create measurable goals. It says to determine if a goal is measurable, ask questions such as how much, how many, how will I know, and how will I know when it's accomplished. Creating attainable goals. When you identify goals that are most important to you, you begin to figure out ways you can make them come true. So, it doesn't matter if you do not think it's within your league at this time. Have you ever had this flashback where you went back to somewhere that you used to spend a lot of time, especially in your childhood, and since you're now grown and you go back, the place just does not look as big as it used to be, and the hill is just not as high as you thought it really was, and the house or the yard is just not as big as you remembered it? It's the same thing in creating and attaining your goals. When you just try to create it, it might seem far-fetched because you really don't know the map. You don't know the route. So, it's kind of out there for you. But as you start, as you begin to align yourself, as you begin to push on through, as you begin to pray, as God begin to put people in your life who will help to guide and direct you, your goals, or you will start figuring out and make them come true. You can attain any goal you set when you plan your steps wisely and establish a time frame that allows you to carry out those steps. Goals that may have seemed far away and out of reach eventually move closer and become attainable, not because your goals shrink, but because you grow and expand to match them. That's what happens when you go back to somewhere you used to live and the house is just not as big as you thought it was. Creating realistic goals. To be realistic, a goal must represent an objective towards which you are both willing and able to work. To determine if your goal is realistic, ask questions such as, do I truly believe that that it can be accomplished? Do you? Do you have a goal or an idea, or you see an opportunity today that you're just not reaching for, but you believe you can do it? Is there something stopping you? Ask yourself, have I accomplished anything similar in the past? I hear Nicole said this morning that you have greatness within you. And I believe her that you have greatness within you. And you might say, oh, I can't start a loan company. I've never done anything like that before. Oh, I don't know anything about logistics and shipping and containers and the oceans and nautical miles, and I don't know I don't know the first thing to speak to a client in another country who speak a different language. So it seems bigger than you are. But I can tell you that you have greatness within you, even if you have not done something similar. But you have. You see, the day you were conceived, you ran a race. You have an idea how many you were running? I hear somebody say millions. It's probably 60 millions or 80 millions. And you won. You were the fastest. You were the strongest. You were the most determined. You were the most... And you won. So you don't need to think that I have not done anything like that before. You have. And against a whole lot more people. Creating timely goals. A goal should be grounded within a time frame. With no time frame tied to it, there is no sense of urgency. When do you want to accomplish your goal? Someday won't work. But if you anchor it within a time frame, say by May 1st, then you have already set your unconscious mind into motion to begin working on the goal. This slide I wanted to add says, a positive thinking is a valuable tool that can help you overcome obstacles. Thank you. Deal with pain and reach your goal. So it is very necessary. I wanted to talk to you as well about networking, but I think another speaker is going to speak about networking. Right? Networking. It says we do this all the time without even being aware of what we are doing, of that we're doing it. Networking is about relationships, people connecting with people, finding some common interests between the people who are talking to each other. When we network, we gain information, we exchange information, and we make contacts. How do we do this? Talk to people you already know well at first. These can be your family members, close friends, or people close to them. Talk to them about common interest. Join at least one professional association and attend related events. There are several out there, and if you want to get into networking, this is a good place to start. This strategy is uncommon but is most beneficial. Friends do business with friends. Networking is about using social, personal, and professional contact to help you to learn more about a field of interest or organization. Networking is not about only selling yourself. It's about learning and getting more information. Have an edge on the competition due to the relationship you have established. You'll gain visibility in future opportunities, and you gain referrals. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is within your reach. You see, I've always told myself a number of things in the negative. I can't do it. Or I can't do it well enough. Or I'll compare myself to other people who I think can do it. Just like I'm here talking to you today, knowing that I am not a speaker, but just determined that I have to share to help somebody to realize that it is attainable and you can do it. I want to speak like Barack Obama. That's why I think I'm not a speaker. The gentleman is eloquent. He is calm under pressure. I would just aspire to give a lecture the way he would give it. And I think I'm going to get there as soon as my sweat glands get the memo. And my nervousness gets the memo. But it's not going to stop me from sharing. A friend of mine, Mr. Les Brown, once said, so, I've never met Les Brown. Well, I met him, but he hasn't met me. But I made him my friend for the same reason I told you. And this is what the gentleman said that resonated with me. He said, if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and if life seems worthless without it, if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and lose all the terror of the opposition for it, if you simply go after that thing that you want with all your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither poverty, cold, famine nor gout, sickness nor pain of body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim, you beseech and beset it, with the help of God, you'll get it. Thank you.